Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Fit Tech Tips. Today, it's my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker and one of my favorite people, Jess Jursak. Jess is a client services manager here at Fit, and she's very passionate about the IT industry, emo music, and dinosaurs. And today, she's here to share tips and tricks about Microsoft Edge. Today's session will be recorded and a link shared to you shortly after, so keep an eye out for that. I'm going to drop a link to a brief survey in the chat, so please take a moment and complete that before you leave today. We do welcome your feedback. There will be some time at the end for questions and answers, but feel free to drop any of those questions in the chat during the presentation, and we'll try to answer those to the best of our ability. And with that, I'll hand things over to Jess.
Thanks, Mike. All right, we'll go ahead and get started here. So yes, I been with Fit here for a little while, and I'm very excited to kind of share some information about Microsoft Edge with all of you today. It's the replacement to what was Internet Explorer previously, which was Microsoft's browsing or web browser. So let me go ahead and steal the screen here. All right. And so as Mike mentioned, I am a dinosaur fan, and so I have customized my Microsoft Edge to actually have a dinosaur on it every different day because I've added a different extension to it, which has a dinosaur HD wallpaper for my theme on my Edge browsing home screen. So you'll notice that, and I'll show you guys where you can access that. So getting started, one thing you may notice that is different for Microsoft Edge that I have on my preferences is that my tabs are horizontal. So normally you would see all your tabs up top here, but we've switched it on this to put them over to the side. So here you can see I can open new tabs, bring a new dinosaur up, and search for, the weather today. And it will bring up that search. Now you manage these, we'll go back to the home page, manage these with this button here, which is your tab actions menu. So I click that and I can turn off the vertical tabs and it puts them right back up top. But there are several other things you can do with that tab management. So when you turn on vertical tabs, switch it over to Office. When you turn on vertical tabs here, what that'll do, it also gives you, and you have these options with the horizontal tabs as well, but there are other things you can do, like organize your tabs. So this, through AI integration, Microsoft has created a way to kind of take a look and say, hey, notice you've got a few different things here. Why don't I organize these for you? So to demonstrate that, let me go back here to the dinosaurs and I'll open up a few different things of just different topics. So we can do Pakistan's national animal and white roses and the mysteries of Halloween symbols. So I also have Halloween destinations on here. And so you'll notice here when I do organize tabs that this will kind of categorize everything into what looks like wallpapers, Halloween, and then flora and fauna. And so it'll automatically generate those. And if I go ahead and hit group tabs, it'll group these together for me. And so I can collapse them as I'd like and open them back up to get to my different tabs. And then if I ever want to ungroup things, you just right click and it'll say ungroup, and there I go. That group is gone. And this is just a personal favorite. You can also pick the color. So if I'm like Halloween, why is this pink? It should be orange. I can switch that. All right. So I'm kind of going to move around the edge here. Sorry for the additional edge pun here, but going on to our next thing is one really cool thing that I've gotten really excited about is workspaces. So workspaces is a place, so if you'll notice here, this is just my own primary like personal browsing space. And so there's nothing where I can invite people or anything like that. But say I want to work on a project and need to have a bunch of different tabs open. We're looking and doing research. and I'm working with Mike on something. So what I can do is open up workspaces. So let's go ahead and pick the security tab. So this is going to open up a whole nother window for me. And opened on a different monitor. Here we go. Opened up a whole nother window for me. And so it's got all these tabs already here that I've already started with. So now when I'm on this screen, if we go up here, welcome to workspaces, you can see that there's a lot of different options that weren't here before. So I've got these tabs over here. I can categorize them and manage them just as I had before, but I can also invite people. So this allows, you can see the Fit Trainer accounts on here too, but I can add any of my colleagues to come help with this. So when you do this, you can make it so that you would lock some of these. So if I wanted to lock this, make sure that no one can close this tab, I can go ahead and do that, as well as go ahead and unlock it too. I can add as many people as I'd like, and then you can also just manage whoever you've shared it with as well. So you can create these for as many or as little ones as you want. And then as you're grouping them too, you can take anytime you have any sort of tab open, you can always add it to a new group or add it to an existing group. So here's my new group, and I want this to be passwords. So any other security pages that we pull up regarding passwords, I can go ahead and do that, and I'm going to make it teal. So you see here that there is also an option to move this tab group to a new collection. So what a collection is actually a personal option. So if we go back, give me 1 second here. Go back over here. Up at the top, we've got collections. So for this, if we look here, so I've got my Halloween. If I wanted to create a collection, I could move this tab group to a new collection. So I just created a new collection called Halloween. So if I open a brand new tab, and I go to my collections, I can click on this Halloween and it'll automatically, well, not automatically, I can select to open either of these, but if I go back, I can open all two in a new window, in a private window, or just open them right here. And that'll open up. And if I wanted to close these, go ahead and do that. Where collections really become nice is it's very similar to workspaces, but the collections, it's if you're working on something personally. So I know if I'm doing research for a specific thing and I've got a bunch of tabs open and I want to close everything out, but I don't want to have to favorite all of these pages, I can just add them to a collection, and then I can easily just be able to come back to that group, add things to that group, and remove things from that group. And then that way I don't have to worry about sorting through my favorites. So moving along the top bar here, I had mentioned that we would talk about extensions, so I'll give you just a quick look on where to go there. So when you go here, you'll see this little puzzle piece, and I've got the Dinosaur HD wallpaper theme. And if you go to Manage Extensions, you can search here and find any new extensions that you'd like. So if I want to find new extensions, this will open a new page for me, and there are a bunch of different options here. So for me, they'll call them different themes and things of that sort, but you can add and customize your homepage as well as just your whole browsing system. And that's really what makes Edge very unique in itself, is it's really very customizable. I'm not saying that any other browser wouldn't have the same kind of options and everything. It definitely does. It's just that with Microsoft, this is constantly coming and changing, and also has a lot of extra security features, which we'll talk about here in a second. So one of my absolute favorite things, I'm going to go back up to Halloween here, is the immersive reader option. So here you'll see this little book. Now the immersive reader option is not available on all portals. So it's available on most web pages, but say you use a different portal like a HubSpot or something like that, because it's a portal, it doesn't have the immersive reader option, but it is available on web pages. So what this does is you can see we've kind of got a couple of different pop-ups here and ads and things like that, just a lot of distractions on the page. If I click the immersive reader option, this will switch it over. So looking at this, I have it set so that it goes into a dark mode. I personally just find it preferable in terms of how I read things, but it immediately takes out all of the noise and it just gives me spooky places to travel. Sorry, drink some water here. So there are a lot of options within the immersive reader options. When you go across the top here, you'll see that there is read aloud, text preferences, and reading preferences. So I'm going to start with reading preferences. So within here, you have the option to do what is called line focus, and you can pick whether it's 1, 3, or 5 lines. But with line focus, what that does is give you the option to just kind of focus in on one line. Now, this is nice too to turn on. If say you need to walk away from your desk and you don't want to forget where you were when you were reading through something, you can turn on line focus and it'll just leave it where you left it. And then, like I said, 3 or 5. And then you just kind of use your arrow keys to move through that as you read along. So with turning that off, another option within the reading preferences is also a translate option. So looking here, say my native language is Spanish and I am having trouble reading this with English, I would just go ahead and click here and say translate this entire page to Spanish. Now there are several different options in terms of what language you'd like to pick, but we'll keep Spanish for today and say translate entire page. And it will go ahead and translate the entire page for me right into whatever language I've selected. Now, my Spanish is not this good, so I am going to switch it back, but that is what you'll find in terms of the options under reading preferences. Now, going over to text preferences, I mentioned that I switch it over to dark mode. Now, here's where I do that. I have the page theme down at the bottom. Now, there are even, I can have the regular theme. This is just how it was previously. I can kind of soften the back, make it a little warmer, make it a little cooler, or here. Now there are other themes. I can even make it orange or a yellowy orange, I guess, or a bright yellow. But for now, let's just go ahead and put it back to dark mode. And I can also switch up the font if I want to switch it over to this or even Comic Sans. And right now, this is a very narrow column style in terms of how the text is placed on the page. So if I prefer, I could widen that a little bit and kind of take it to this medium or even bigger all the way out. And then if I wanted to space out the text a little more, there is that option as well. You just click here. And then if I just wanted to make it a little bit bigger or even a little bit smaller, I can also do that. And then lastly is the read aloud option. Now, when I click this, it is going to start reading aloud. You guys won't be able to hear it, but that option is there. I'm going to pause it almost immediately, but I want to show you how it kind of reads across the page for you. So as it's going, you'll see that it hops on each word as it's announcing it. And so with that, you get to pick whatever voice really you want. There are a ton of different options and you can pick the speed. So if you're just a better audio processor, you can always have them read whatever page, excuse me. And you can pick, I have it set to Christopher, but Brian, Emma, Andrew, these are all options as well for English. And then say, again, I'm a Spanish speaker, I can switch down here and say I'm native to Guatemala. I want to have it speak Spanish from Marta in Guatemalan Spanish, then I can go ahead and select that. So that is Immersive Reader. I'm going to go ahead and then to get out of Immersive Reader mode, you just click this again and it takes you right back. And then you can see what I'm talking about in terms of taking out the noise. So all of this up here and these distractions that kind of pull you away from what you're trying to read, that's really the benefit of it. All right. Next up, there's also just the read aloud for this page. You can do that at any time. And then you can add to your favorites. Now, favorites are going to be managed over here. So if I click my favorites, you can see that it also puts all of my workspaces in my favorite area. So you can access them through there. You can create new favorites, add this page to favorites. You can add a new folder and then add this page, or you can also just restore some deleted favorites. If you want to manage all of these through here, you can see you also have the option to add any of your open pages or hide this favorites button from your toolbar, or just open the favorites pages and it'll give you all of the management from here. All right, now I'm going to close this out now. One of my favorite things that this does, and I don't know in what world I would need to look at these two things side by side, but just for showing you, a lot of times in my workday, I'll be working on two different tabs. I've got one tab open that's got a spreadsheet, and I've got one tab open where I'm trying to draft an email or something of that sort. So Microsoft has a split screen option. So here, if I go ahead, I can now look at both of these pages at once. And so here, if I need to pull some information from over here to enter it over here, I have that option. And so you'll notice when I pick this, it took the tab away because it's all on one space now. But if I click this off, it just opens both tabs right back up. All right. Moving right along. I know we're getting close here on time, so I've got probably about 5 more minutes of things I want to review with you, so we'll hurry on through. Everyone's most exciting, your browser health. So the heart here kind of shows you the performance of your current browser. So right now we see I'm at 83% savings in terms of my browser usage and memory saving. And so you can see my tab performance is healthy. It's scanned over 2,000 sites and it's prevented 49 risks. And you can read more here from Microsoft if in the Learn category. Now, the nice thing about this area is that it tells you a lot in terms of your performance, but I know I mentioned security. So I skipped over, but I'm going to go back to this little lockup here. So I mentioned earlier that Microsoft Edge has a lot of security features. So when you click this, you can see about my current page that I'm on. The connection's secure, enhanced security is active for this site. It's showing me what cookies and data are being used, and also that tracking is being prevented for this site. So it's blocking 48 trackers for me right now. So where do I go to manage those settings? You want to go over here and go to your settings. So looking at privacy search and services, this shows where the tracking prevention actually is managed. So I have it as balanced right now, but you can switch it to strict. A lot of people will switch it to strict, especially for their kids if they're using it. So this will block trackers, which essentially means, it's those cookies and just that track your browsing history and those targeted ads that you see all the time, which sometimes can be really nice, but sometimes it's like, I really don't need to buy another dinosaur shirt. And please don't show me the ad. So putting on these tracker blockers really helps kind of prevent that from happening and prevent some of your targeted ads, that kind of cookie history that we all kind of experience in our day-to-day lives. Now here, other security features are here throughout the page. You can personalize a lot of things. So I also have Defender Smart Screen turned on that helps me protect me from any malicious sites and blocking any unwanted ads. And then enhanced security, as I mentioned, was up at the top. That's where I set this here, and I have it to balance, which is the recommended, but you can always switch it to strict. And again, when you have kids using things, I always recommend strict because we put a lot of thought behind, hey, that link looks suspicious, but kids might not. And this just really helps you protect from any malware. And then one last thing here I want to show you is in here I know there's family safety, so there are different things that you can do to set that up. And when we go to accessibility, no, sorry, sometimes tech people struggle too. Go to our profiles. Here, under our profile. So if I go to passwords, one thing I have set here, so you can see password security check. So I'm going to go ahead and say check and check passwords. And this is checking it against the dark web to make sure that none of my passwords have been leaked. And so it'll alert you if that happens. And it looks like we're all good. So let's go back and go to the settings. So the way that I set this to have it automatically do this is to scan for leaked passwords. So if you're in your settings under Microsoft Wallet, which is where your passwords are stored, you can make those settings whether or not you even offer to save passwords, scan for leaked passwords, reveal passwords, all of those options, as well as your payment options. I know a lot of browsers now will help store some payment options, and while it does expedite things, you do have that option to make sure that it's turned off to never automatically save your payment info, but to ask if you wanted to, but at least then the option is there because depending on where you're putting that payment info in, you may not want that saved or, whatever payment method you're using. So you can manage all of that through here. All right, I know I just have a couple of minutes left and I hate to lose this sidebar. So those are the top hits for security. Definitely if you have any questions, we can shoot those in the chat. And if we don't get them to today, I will get to them and we'll get back to you. All right, so the most exciting thing, and there definitely will be its own dedicated training, here in the top right is the Copilot integration. So Copilot is Microsoft's generative AI tool. So this is very similar. I'm sure everyone's heard about ChatGPT. It's very similar to that. But the nice thing about Copilot, especially its integration here in Microsoft Edge, is that you'll notice this little green shield. So when you are working under either your work or school account, you are protected under that umbrella of security to have that commercial data protection. So while I always still absolutely recommend when you are using generative AI searches to never put in any personal or private information as it then goes out public, but this at least prevents any of that from leaking out in the event it did happen. And here you can do all sorts of things. Here we'll look through, create a table that analyzes public funding for the arts compared to GDP, and it will create me a table and break that all down for me in seconds. And then when it does this, it generated all of this, but you may question, hey, where'd this come from? Can I validate it? Yes, it will give you all of its sites that it took that data from. So it does cite its sources, which is really kind of cool. All right, so like I said, I don't want to go too much into Copilot, because we have a couple more things I just want to hit before we move there. And I could spend probably 2 hours on Copilot. So you've got a search function here. If you just want to, you're on a page and you don't want to open up a new thing, you can just do a quick search. And you can search either through the web or just on this site if you're just looking for a word and trying to get to that topic. Here you can access all of your Microsoft 365 apps, as well as open up just, if I want to go to home. And then I can, just like anything else, access my waffle from here and go to more apps. And then one cool thing too, if I'm looking for an email or need to reference an email, I can open up my Outlook. Well, what this does, this actually doesn't open it up on a page. It's going to open up a sidebar for me and open up my Outlook right here. So I can get all of my emails right here and access everything. And then close it like that. Now you can add additional things through here. So there are other quick access links that you can add. So you see I've got pinned ChatGPT and Spotify. But you can look for others. So let's see if I want to look at productivity and I want to add, let's see, my OneDrive. I can go ahead and do that. Oh, I need to sign in, but oh, it's signing in for me. Maybe it is. Either way, we'll close it anyway. So then that's located there and I can just access it very quickly. So there are several different things, maybe Dropbox. And then say I want to quit this app, I can just go ahead and do that. If I want to pin it and make sure it's there next time, I can do that as well. And then see, I've got, as I mentioned, already have Spotify up here. So if I go ahead and open up Spotify, now I could pin this to my sidebar. So every time I come up, anything above that line is pinned. And if I want to unpin it, I can remove from sidebar. All right, I think I made my way all the way around and I cutting it a little close here, but I will have a couple extra minutes here for questions. So Mike, I will go ahead and kind of hand it back to you.
That's great. Thank you very much, Jess. I do have a couple questions here that I think we have time for. The first one is, how do I import my bookmarks and settings from another browser?
That is a great question, and I'm glad you're so excited to go ahead and switch over to Edge and say goodbye to Chrome. Just kidding. Chrome's wonderful too, but Edge is fantastic. So the way that you would do that, you open up your favorites and the three little dots here, we've got the option to import your favorites. So when I click over to this, now you would just hit import your data from Google Chrome, from Firefox, or for those of you that somehow still have Internet Explorer, from Internet Explorer, and you can import them from there. It may ask you to sign in when you do that with that account so that you can pull all the data over, but that'll go ahead and do that for you.
Thank you for that. And then the last question we have here is, can you change I think they meant vertical tabs. Can you change the tabs that are on the left to a horizontal tab?
Absolutely. So when you go up here, you see the tab actions menu. And you can just turn off vertical tabs and it will go ahead and put everything back up at the top. So it's very easy to switch back and forth. And if you're like, actually, you know what, it was nice, I want to switch them back, turn on vertical tabs, turn off. And then one thing actually I should mention, sorry, just one last thing. I know I mentioned it with the immersive reader, but I have my actual browser set to dark mode. So if we go here to appearance, you can go back to the system defaults and this is what that looks like. And you can also choose a theme if I want spicy red, maybe. And that will change the outside of my browser to the spicy red. And you can do that with dark mode as well. And this is also where you can then discover some more themes. All right. Any other questions?
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Jess. A lot of good information there. I think I'll be switching over to Edge myself now that I know how to import my favorites too. And with that, we will get you out of here on time. Again, just a quick reminder, please take a moment and complete the survey in the Q&A. And thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your partnership and I hope you have a good weekend. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.